Hello, baby. Tonight, let's begin a gentle journey across the sleepy river, where dreams drift like clouds and wishes ride on the wind. This is the story of the feather boat and the sleepy river, a tale of a tiny boat made of the softest feather, a curious little squirrel named Pip, and a magical voyage through moonlit lands. Each night, we will float further down the river, meeting kind-hearted creatures and discovering the wonders that lie where the stars kiss the earth. Now, snuggle close, little one, and let's begin our dreamy tale. Once upon a time, in a quiet forest where the breeze whispered lullabies to the trees, there lived a little squirrel named Pip. Pip had the fluffiest tail you could ever imagine, like a dandelion puff, and the gentlest heart in the whole woodland. He lived high in an old oak tree with his grandmother, Granny Nutwhistle, who made the softest quilts and told the sleepiest stories. Every evening, Pip would scamper up to the very top branch of the tree and gaze beyond the treetops at the silvery ribbon that shimmered through the forest, the sleepy river. It wound its way through the land like a dream, glowing under the moonlight. But there was one thing that made Pip's heart flutter every time he looked out. He'd heard a story, told in a whisper by the owls, about a magical boat that floated down the sleepy river. It wasn't made of wood or leaves, but of a single giant feather. They called it the feather boat, and it was said to carry those who truly believed in dreams to places only found in bedtime stories. "Granny," Pip would say, his eyes sparkling, "do you think the feather boat is real?" Granny Nutwhistle would smile softly and pull him close. "If your heart is gentle and your dreams are true, the feather boat will find you when the time is right." One particularly hushed evening, when the stars twinkled like sugar crystals and the air smelled of sweet moss and honeysuckle, Pip heard a sound. It was softer than a sigh, gentler than the rustle of leaves, almost like the whisper of a cloud brushing against the ground. He peered down from his branch, and there, floating just at the edge of the riverbank, was something unlike anything he had ever seen. It was a boat, but not like any boat Pip knew. It was long and curved and white as moon milk. It shimmered with a glow that wasn't from the moon but seemed to come from within. Its sides rippled gently as if breathing, and tiny silver fireflies circled around it like guardians. Pip's little heart beat fast. "The feather boat," he whispered. He didn't stop to think. He didn't even blink. He scampered down the tree, his tiny paws barely touching the bark, and padded through the sleepy grass to the river's edge. The boat didn't drift away. It waited. Pip looked up at the sky. "Granny," he whispered, "I think the time is right." He stepped inside. The moment his fluffy tail brushed the side of the feather boat, the whole vessel gave a soft sigh, like a pillow being fluffed. It welcomed him with a quiet glow, wrapping Pip in warmth and stillness. As he sat down, the boat began to drift, slowly, slowly down the glowing river. Around him, the night deepened into a velvet hush. The trees leaned in as if to listen, and the river hummed a lullaby just for him. Pip watched in awe as the stars above began to shimmer more brightly, not with light, but with gentle, dreamful colors, soft blue, sleepy lavender, hush-hush pink. As the boat floated, Pip noticed that the feather boat didn't just sail. It danced. It dipped and swayed to the rhythm of the night. The water beneath sparkled like melted moonlight, and the air was filled with the scent of wildflower dreams. And then, from somewhere not too far, came a soft tinkling sound, like wind chimes made of dandelion fluff. Pip looked around and gasped. A family of glow mice was gliding alongside him in tiny thimble-shaped canoes. Their whiskers sparkled with stardust, and they waved at him with tiny paws. One of them, the smallest glow mouse with a pink ribbon on her ear, called out in a voice that tickled Pip's ears like feathers, "Welcome, dream sailor. The sleepy river has waited for you." Pip waved back, amazed. "Where does the river go?" "To the places your dreams begin," she sang, "where wishes grow like willow trees and laughter floats like petals on the wind." Pip leaned over the side of the boat, mesmerized. Beneath the water, he saw shapes, gentle ones, of castles made of clouds, turtles with lanterns on their backs, and butterflies that glowed with lullaby colors. He felt no fear, only wonder, only peace. A soft breeze brushed his fur, and Pip curled up in the feathered nook of the boat. The stars began to hum in harmony with the river's song, and the feather boat floated onward, ever onward, through the hush of the dream-kissed night. And as Pip's eyelids grew heavy, his last waking thought was a whisper in his heart. I'm sailing in a dream, and the dream is sailing me. Now rest, little one. Let your own dreams drift gently like the feather boat, and may the sleepy river carry you to where only kind hearts and sleepy stars can go. The gentle current of the sleepy river carried the feather boat smoothly through the velvety hush of night. Pip lay nestled in the soft curve of the feathered vessel, his paws tucked beneath his chin, eyes blinking slowly as dream sparkles twirled above him. The stars above continued their soft shimmer, forming patterns that danced like lullabies across the sky. Soon, a new sound began to drift across the air, like the slow plucking of harp strings made from dew. Pip opened his eyes just enough to peek over the edge of the boat. Ahead, the river began to widen, opening into a glistening meadow that floated on the water like a petal on a pond. It wasn't quite land, and it wasn't quite water. It shimmered somewhere in between. As the feather boat gently nudged against the edge, the surface rippled and outstepped the sleepy willows. They were trees, but not ordinary ones. Their long silvery branches trailed like sleepy arms, and their leaves chimed like gentle bells. They swayed slowly, rhythmically, as if they too were rocked by the lullaby of the river. One of the willows bowed low, brushing Pip's boat with a leafy kiss. Little dream traveler, the willow said in a voice like a yawn wrapped in velvet, you've reached the meadow of murmurs. Here, dreams take root, and sleepy thoughts bloom into wonder. Pip stood up slowly, his fluffy tail flicking gently behind him. May I explore? He asked politely. The willow nodded. Step lightly, little one. The petals are listening. Pip climbed out of the feather boat, his paws touching the meadow with a sensation like walking on warm clouds. The surface was soft and springy, and tiny puffs of glowing pollen floated up with every step he took. All around him, the meadow rustled with whispers, not frightening ones, but sweet little murmurs, like giggles hidden in flowers. He wandered past flowers shaped like stars, each one humming a different note of a lullaby. Gentle breezes carried stories half told, and every so often, a little puff of dream cloud would rise from the ground and pop like a bubble, sending sleepy sparkles drifting into the air. In the middle of the meadow stood a creature Pip had never seen before. It looked a bit like a sheep, but with wings made of mist and eyes like puddles after rain. It was dozing, standing peacefully under a tree made entirely of feathers. Pip approached quietly, not wanting to wake it, but as he stepped closer, the creature opened one eye and gave a slow, cozy smile. Hello, it said in a voice like warm milk. You're very quiet. That's good. The dreams here don't like noise. Pip nodded. I didn't mean to wake you. You didn't? Said the creature with a yawn so wide a tiny bubble floated out of its mouth. I'm always a little awake, just enough to guide travelers like you. Where am I going? Pip asked, sitting gently beside the creature. The creature tilted its head and blinked slowly. Where your dreams take you, of course. But you must gather some sleepy wishes first. Everyone who sails the sleepy river needs a pocket full of wishes. The river knows how to find them, but only if you believe. Pip looked down at his tiny leaf pouch that Granny Nutwhistle had stitched for him. I have a pouch, he said. Can I fill it with sleepy wishes? The creature chuckled softly. You already have, little one. You've gathered one every time you've smiled tonight. Pip looked inside, and sure enough, there were tiny specks of glowing light, like crumbs of moonbeam, nestled inside. They pulsed gently, like the beat of a tiny heart. These will help you find your way, the creature said, stretching its misty wings and giving a soft snore-like sigh. Pip stood once more and continued through the meadow. As he walked, soft butterflies with wings of velvet and eyes like closed stars followed him, landing gently on his shoulders, his tail, even the tip of his ear. They whispered secret dreams in the quietest voices, of candy cloud castles, of gentle giants who told knock-knock jokes, of libraries made entirely of lullabies. Everywhere he looked, kindness bloomed. At the far end of the meadow of murmurs, a sleepy bridge arched over a narrow brook that joined the river. The bridge wasn't made of wood or rope, but of braided dandelion stems and strands of moonlight. Pip crossed it slowly, feeling every step bounce with a little giggle of energy. On the other side, the feather boat waited, nestled against a bank of glowing moss. Pip climbed back in, his pouch of sleepy wishes now full, his heart even fuller. As the boat drifted once more into the current, the willows waved their leafy arms, and the feathered tree under which the creature slept gave a soft shimmer, sending a hush across the meadow. The butterflies rose in a flutter and circled high, guiding Pip forward. The river curved gently now, as if it too were getting sleepier. Pip curled up in the boat's soft feather nook once more, holding his pouch close. The river hummed beneath him, and the stars whispered lullabies from above. The dream clouds danced lightly across the sky, and Pip's eyes began to flutter. He didn't notice the shape ahead, something softly glowing, something warm and welcoming. The next part of his journey waited just around the bend, but for now he breathed in the calm, the kindness, the quiet of the night. The feather boat rocked gently, back and forth, carrying him deeper into the heart of the sleepy river. The feather boat glided silently onward, the sleepy river widening once more as if taking a deep, gentle breath. The stars above now glowed in deeper shades, mossy blues and candlelight golds, casting a cozy light upon Pip's little face. His ears twitched slightly in his sleep, as if catching melodies from the dreams swirling above. As dawn kissed the edge of night but never quite arrived, the river carried Pip into a new land, one where the air was filled with the scent of warm bread and honey mist, and soft clouds floated low enough to touch. Here, the trees stood taller and rounder, their trunks spiraling like candy canes made from cinnamon bark. Birds with lullaby wings dozed on cotton branches, and tiny bells hung from mossy vines, chiming softly with the movement of the wind. The boat came to a gentle stop beside a shore that shimmered like sugar snow. A sign curved out from a nearby tree, painted in dreamy pastels. It read, "Welcome to Naptime Nook, home of the Dozy Bears." As Pip awoke and stepped out, a great warm yawn echoed through the forest. It wasn't a loud yawn, but the kind that makes your eyelids feel heavy just hearing it. From behind a berry bush the size of a small cottage, a big soft bear rolled out lazily. He had fur the color of toasted marshmallows and eyes like puddles of melted chocolate. "Hello, dream traveler," said the bear, his voice as slow and smooth as syrup. "I'm Bumble, the chief snoozer of Naptime Nook." Pip rubbed his eyes and smiled. "Hello, Bumble. I'm Pip. The feather boat brought me here." Bumble stretched and gave a satisfied sigh. "Ah, then the river thinks you're ready for a lesson in true napping. Come, follow me, if you're not too cozy already." They walked through a path made entirely of sleepy moss. Pip's paws sank slightly into its softness, and every few steps, the ground gave a little like it was humming in its sleep. The nook was unlike any place Pip had ever seen. Giant hammocks swung gently between trees, made from spider silk and swaddled in clouds. Snoozy lanterns floated through the air, shedding a light that made everything look like it was inside a cuddle. Everywhere, dozy bears lounged with half-closed eyes, sipping warm milky cocoa or reading dream books that turned their own pages. One bear was dozing with a nest of sparrows curled up on his belly, all snoring together in rhythm. Another floated by on a cushioned leaf, using a dandelion puff as a fan. Bumble led Pip to the center of the nook, where a round platform of soft stone glowed gently. He invited Pip to sit, and as he did, the stone gave off a hum so soothing it made the flowers around it begin to sway in time. "This is the Circle of Calm," Bumble explained. "Every traveler stops here. It's where you learn how to listen to the hush." Pip tilted his head. "The hush?" "Yes," Bumble said, settling beside him. "The hush is the space between thoughts, the breath between dreams. If you can find it, truly find it, then your heart will know how to drift without ever getting lost." Pip closed his eyes and listened. At first, there was the rustle of leaves, the soft yawns of bears, the gentle swirl of the river nearby. But slowly, those sounds became lighter, floating away like feathers. Then he heard it, or rather, he felt it. It was the hush, a warmth, a stillness. Like the comfort of Granny Nutwhistle's arms, like the space between a lullaby's verses. He sighed, his little chest rising and falling like a leaf on water. When he opened his eyes, Bumble was smiling. "You found it. Not everyone does on their first try." Pip looked around. Everything seemed softer now, even more peaceful. The colors had quieted, and the light felt like a hug. A bell chimed in the distance, soft and low. "That means the dream cake is ready," Bumble said with a sleepy grin. "Would you care for a slice?" Together they walked to a round table made from a giant toadstool, where a cake sat, glowing faintly and steaming gently. It was covered in stardust sugar and decorated with tiny moonberries. A sign beside it read, "One bite brings one dream." Pip took a slice. It tasted like everything he loved. Warm nights, bedtime stories, the rustle of leaves outside Granny's window. As he swallowed, he felt a flutter in his pouch. The sleepy wishes inside were glowing brighter now, like they'd been fed. "Each dream you collect," Bumble explained, "adds to your light, and when your light is ready, the river will show you the way home." Pip looked down at his pouch, then back at the shimmering river. "But I don't want to go home yet. There's still more to see." Bumble chuckled gently. "Oh, little one, the river knows. It's only ever gently guiding, never rushing, never waking before you're ready." Pip smiled, finishing his cake as the sun above dimmed back into stars once more. That night, he lay in a hammock beside Bumble and the dozy bears, swaying gently under a sky woven with glowing clouds. Above them, the constellations slowly formed pictures of boats, of squirrels, of sleepy bears eating cake. Pip's dreams that night were soft and wide, filled with laughter and lullabies, glimmering wings and secret doors made of sighs. And far away, the feather boat waited, nestled in reeds that whispered promises of more magic just around the bend. When morning never quite arrived, and the stars only dimmed a little, Pip awoke in the cradle of the dream hammock. The scent of warm chamomile and toasted honey drifted through the air as dozy bears continued to nap in every corner of naptime nook. Bumble was still softly snoring beside him, his chest rising and falling like a hill in slow motion, with a sleepy sparrow perched on his nose. Pip slipped gently from the hammock, his paws touching the mossy floor with the hush of a falling petal. He tiptoed past the feather lanterns, careful not to disturb their drowsy flicker. The feather boat waited, nestled beneath a tree that drooped with feather blossoms and fuzzy fruits. As Pip climbed back in, a single blossom floated down and settled into the boat beside him. It gave off a little sigh, then shimmered into a cloud of sparkles that tickled Pip's whiskers. With a soft push from the mossy shore, the feather boat drifted once more into the slow curl of the sleepy river. The breeze had changed, cooler now, like a whisper from a moonbeam. The water glowed with a deeper light, and the sky above turned a cozy lavender, like a blanket gently pulled across the stars. As the boat rocked gently, Pip saw something ahead that made his heart skip with wonder. A forest of umbrellas. They stretched high into the sky, some with stripes and polka dots, others with lace and velvet trims. Their handles curved like candy canes, and each one spun slowly in the wind, casting soft shadows on the water. Tiny creatures fluttered beneath them, winged animals that looked like a mix between moths and marshmallows. They giggled softly as they glided by, trailing ribbons of dreamlight behind them. The feather boat floated under the biggest umbrella of all, one made entirely of stitched-together clouds. As it passed into its shade, everything grew quiet in a different way. Not the hush of sleep, but the hush of listening. A voice called down, gentle and clear as water over stones. "Welcome to the whispering umbrellas. You've entered the land of thoughts that drift." A creature descended slowly from above, floating down on a spiral of silky thread. It looked like a fox, but its fur was pale silver, and its eyes were the softest violet. Around its neck was a collar of folded dreams, shaped like petals. "I'm Luma," said the creature. "I guide those who are ready to meet their gentle thoughts." Pip blinked. "My thoughts?" Luma nodded. "The ones too quiet for daytime. They hide under your pillow and float behind your eyes. They want to be seen, but only when the sky is hushed enough to hold them." The feather boat came to rest on a circular patch of lily pads, each one softly pulsing with pale light. Pip stepped out, and the pad bobbed beneath his paws, then steadied as if sighing. Luma led him through a tunnel of floating umbrellas. The colors changed with every step: powder blue, rose gold, sleepy green. Each one gave off a whisper, a barely there murmur. "Their thoughts?" Pip asked softly. "Yes," said Luma. "Not all thoughts are loud. Some are simply waiting." They reached a small clearing surrounded by umbrella trees, their handles twisted into seats. Luma gestured for Pip to sit. When he did, a circle of glowing seeds rose from the ground and hovered before him. "These are your quiet thoughts," Luma said. "Choose one and listen." Pip reached out and touched a glowing seed. Suddenly, the world faded to a soft blur, and he was back home in Granny Nutwhistle's kitchen. She was humming as she stirred a pot of warm apple porridge. The window was open, and a breeze blew in, making the curtains dance. Pip felt a tiny ache in his chest, not of sadness, but of longing, like when you see the very first star and want to whisper something to it. Then, just as softly, the vision faded, and Pip was back under the umbrella trees. "That thought lives in your heart," Luma said gently. "It wants to remind you of where love begins." Pip touched another seed. This time, he saw himself climbing high in a tree, higher than he'd ever dared before. The wind rustled his fur, but he felt no fear, only courage and the sparkle of adventure. It faded again. "And that," Luma said, "is the bravery you carry without even knowing." Pip sat quietly, the seeds floating around him like stars with gentle wings. "You can visit these thoughts anytime you wish," Luma whispered. "They're yours. They always were." The umbrellas above began to close, folding softly as if nodding off. The sky darkened a shade deeper, and the stars blinked slowly like sleepy eyes. Pip felt something shift inside, like a tiny door opening. He stood, his pouch of sleepy wishes glowing gently against his chest. Luma bowed. "The river is calling you onward," she said. "But take your thoughts with you. Let them ride in your dreams." As Pip stepped back into the feather boat, the umbrella trees swayed in unison, and the soft giggles of the moth mallows echoed faintly above. The current picked up, slow and sure, guiding him once more down the winding, shimmering, sleepy river. He curled up beneath the soft feather fold, his heart full of whispers, and the river hummed beneath him a lullaby made of thoughts too gentle to speak aloud. The feather boat floated deeper into the dream-rich night, the stars above swirling in slow, tender spirals. Pip, nestled in his feathery nook, watched as the sky melted from lavender into a soft midnight blue, flecked with glimmers that pulsed like sleepy fireflies. The air was quiet, filled only with the soft swish of water and the occasional flutter of a dream moth passing overhead. The river narrowed gently, and the trees that lined its banks leaned inward, their branches touching in delicate arches above, forming a long, glowing tunnel. As the boat passed beneath, each leaf gave off a faint shimmer, like tiny nightlights watching over him. It was here that Pip noticed something drifting in the air, sparkling threads like strands of moonlight, floating lazily across the river's breeze. He reached out and touched one. The moment his paw brushed the glowing thread, the boat gave a slow, graceful turn, guiding itself toward a clearing ahead where the trees parted and a new world unfurled. Before him lay a sky farm. It floated above the water, rows of cloud-shaped patches filled with twinkling things. Dream seeds. Pip blinked. They looked like little glowing beans, each pulsing gently with its own sleepy rhythm. Around the farm fluttered creatures with translucent wings, tending to the seeds with brushes made of starlight. At the edge of the dream farm stood a windmill, not made of wood or stone, but entirely of dreams spun into lace. Its blades turned slowly, casting gentle breezes scented like rain and vanilla. A creature with ears like quilted pillows and fur that shimmered in patchwork colors stood beside the windmill, waving with a fluffy paw. "Hello, River Drifter," the creature called in a sleepy, cheerful voice. "Welcome to the Dream Grower's Garden. You've come just in time for the bloom." Pip stepped out of the boat, and the cloud beneath his feet puffed up like a giggle. The creature waddled over, its soft feet barely making a sound. "I'm Muddle," it said, "the night's caretaker. We grow the dreams that children forget to plant." Pip tilted his head. "You can grow dreams?" "Oh yes," Muddle beamed, "but only in moonlight, and only if they're made with kindness, courage, or a sprinkle of wonder." Together they walked through the rows of dream seeds. Each one flickered with a tiny scene. Some showed teddy bears having picnics on clouds. Others displayed shimmering castles that floated upside down, or giggling fish who swam through the air. "These are dreams left behind," Muddle explained, "when little ones grow sleepy but forget to finish thinking sweet thoughts." They came to a particularly glowing patch where several seeds pulsed brightly. Said Muddle, "Are yours." Pip's eyes widened. "Mine?" "Yes," Muddle nodded. "These are dreams you started but never quite reached before waking. But now, you can watch them bloom." Pip crouched down beside the patch, and as he did, one of the seeds trembled and began to glow more brightly. It unfolded like a flower, revealing a tiny floating scene. In it, Pip saw himself riding on the back of a gentle breeze dragon, soaring above a sea of clouds. The wind in his fur, the joy in his heart, it all bloomed before his eyes. Another dream seed opened. This one showed a treehouse made entirely of books, where each page turned itself and told a new story every night. "They're beautiful," Pip whispered. "They're you," said Muddle softly. "The best parts of your dreaming heart." Pip spent a long time wandering the garden, watching the seeds open one by one, each dream sweeter and cozier than the last. Some were silly, like floating marshmallow parades. Some were quiet, like a room filled with sleepy kittens reading lullabies to each other. Eventually, they returned to the windmill. Muddle climbed to the top, pulling a lever made of soft moonstone. "It's time," Muddle called, and the blades of the dream mill began to spin faster, sending out a swirl of silvery wind that danced through the garden. As it passed over the seeds, the open dreams lifted gently into the sky, rising like bubbles made of music and mist. "They go to sleeping hearts now," Muddle said, watching them ascend. "Maybe even yours if you sleep deep enough." Pip stood quietly, feeling something warm and fuzzy bloom inside him, like being hugged from the inside out. "Take this," Muddle said, handing him a pouch made of woven fog. "For your new dreams. The feather boat knows how to keep them safe." Pip placed it beside his pouch of sleepy wishes. The two bags shimmered gently together, as if sharing secrets. As he stepped back into the feather boat, Muddle waved from the top of the windmill. "Keep dreaming gently," the caretaker called. "And remember, every thought you cherish grows something wonderful." The feather boat eased back into the river's embrace, carrying Pip past the garden and into the next curve of the sleepy night. The breeze turned softer, the stars a little fuller, and the sky farm faded behind him like the hush of a bedtime song. Pip yawned, deeply and happily, and curled up once more, letting the gentle current rock him closer to the next wonder waiting in the heart of the sleepy river. The river carried the feather boat onward through a place where the stars above and the reflections below seemed to meet in a quiet mirror of moonlight. Everything glowed just enough to feel warm, like a hug from the night. Pip, snuggled deep into the feathered folds of the boat, stirred gently as a new scent drifted toward him, like sugar clouds and candle wax with the softest hint of vanilla breeze. He opened his eyes to find that the river had widened again, flowing through a land of soft, sleepy hills made entirely of pillows. Not ordinary pillows, but magical ones. Some shaped like teacups, others like crescent moons or gentle paws. They were stacked in cozy piles, drifting lightly across the riverbanks, bumping and bouncing as if giggling in their sleep. Above the hills floated slow-turning hot air balloons, each glowing softly and filled not with fire, but with puffs of sweet steam. Tiny creatures with sleepy eyes peeked over the edges, waving lazily at Pip with marshmallow hands. The feather boat slowed, then gently bumped into a shore lined with quilted blankets. A small sign stitched into a banner read, "Welcome to the Pillow Peaks, where snoozy wishes rest." A soft giggle came from beneath one of the hills, and out popped a creature shaped like a stuffed bunny, but made entirely of soft fabric and ribbon. It blinked sleepily at Pip with button eyes and stretched its floppy arms. "Hello," it said with a yawn that made Pip feel drowsy just hearing it. "I'm Tumble, one of the fluff folk. We help keep the dreams safe and squishy." Pip smiled. "I'm Pip. The river brought me here." Tumble clapped softly, like two dandelions brushing together. "Then it must be time for your nap nest." "My what?" Pip asked. Come, Tumble said, taking Pip's paw gently. "Every dream traveler needs a nap nest. It's a special place made just for your sleepiest self, built from the coziest parts of your heart." They walked up a hill that sighed with every step until they reached a round hollow at the top, filled with shimmering fabric and tiny twinkling lights. The hollow looked like a nest woven from dream threads, velvet leaves, and star petals. "This," said Tumble proudly, "is your nap nest." Pip stepped inside. It was the softest place he'd ever known. The moment he lay down, the nest adjusted to his shape, cradling him gently. A small pillow floated down from the sky and rested beneath his head. "It knows what you need," Tumble whispered. "It always does." As Pip relaxed, more fluff folk arrived, some with wings made of sleep ribbons, others with tiny yarn tails. They sang a lullaby so soft it barely touched the air, yet it filled the hollow with peace. "We don't sleep," Tumble explained, "but we help others find their rest. That's what the pillow peaks are for, to give your heart a moment to settle like snow on a quiet path. Pip looked up. Can I stay here forever? Tumble chuckled gently. You can rest here as long as you need, but there are still wonders waiting for you down the river. Pip nodded slowly, his eyelids fluttering as the lullaby wrapped around him like a second blanket. One of the fluff folk placed a tiny feather on Pip's pouch of sleepy wishes. For comfort, they whispered, it will keep your dreams soft. And in the softest moment, just between wake and sleep, the pillow peaks began to glow a little brighter, their peaks shimmering with starlight. The hill beneath Pip's nest rose slowly, becoming a gentle wave that rocked him back toward the river's edge. The feather boat was waiting, bobbing quietly beside a drifting cloud bridge. Pip climbed back in, his fur still carrying the warmth of the nest, his heart even lighter than before. As the boat floated onward, the pillow peaks behind him gave a slow, harmonious sigh. The river turned again, its current a steady cradle. Overhead, the sky began to flicker with floating lanterns, each carrying a tiny wish whispered by someone already deep in sleep. Pip curled back into his nook, his body still remembering the softness of the nap nest, his mind calm as a midnight breeze. He reached into his pouch, touching the feather placed there, and felt a hum of comfort move through him, like a whisper from Granny Nutwhistle herself. And the sleepy river carried him onward, into the quiet between breaths, where only the most tender dreams dare to drift. The sleepy river curved gently through the hush of the dreaming night, its waters now reflecting not just the stars above, but tiny golden letters floating just beneath the surface, words of kindness, laughter, and forgotten lullabies. The feather boat glided effortlessly, guided by the soft tug of the current and the glow of wishes carried on the wind. Pip, curled in his cozy nook, opened his eyes slowly. The air felt different here, lighter, almost sparkly. As he peeked over the edge of the boat, he saw the river opening up into a great shimmering expanse. It wasn't a lake, not quite an ocean, but something in between, a wide glowing bay filled with floating islands of music. Each island was shaped like an instrument, harps with leaves instead of strings, violins that bloomed with sound, and drums that pulsed gently like the heartbeat of the world. As the feather boat drifted closer, a melody began to rise, not from any one place, but from everywhere at once. It wasn't loud, but soft and steady, like the rhythm of a rocking chair. A sign made of glimmering notes swirled through the air. Welcome to Melody Bay, where songs remember you. Pip sat up, enchanted. On the nearest island, a figure waited, playing a flute made of glasslight. The creature was tall and slender, with feathers that shimmered like silver rain and eyes as deep as nighttime lullabies. As Pip's boat touched the edge of the island, the creature lowered its flute and smiled. "Greetings, little traveler," said the being in a voice that sounded like a melody hummed just before sleep. "I am Noctel, keeper of the dreaming songs." Pip stepped onto the soft surface of the island, which felt like walking on warm music. "Are these real songs?" Pip asked, looking around as musical notes floated past his ears. "Oh yes," Noctel said gently. "These are the songs your heart already knows, the ones whispered to you when you were still too small to speak, the ones that comforted you when shadows grew long. They never vanish. They wait." Pip turned in a slow circle, his ears twitching as a familiar tune danced by, something Granny Nutwhistle used to hum when the wind howled through the trees. "I remember that," Pip whispered. "Because it remembers you," Noctel said with a warm nod. Songs are made of memory and love, stitched together with feelings too gentle for words. Noctel led Pip to a glade where notes grew from the ground like flowers. They bent and swayed in the air, twinkling with each breath of wind. A soft harp tree stood at the center, and when Pip touched one of its strings, a ripple of warmth spread out across the bay. "That's your lullaby," Noctel said. "Everyone has one." Pip tilted his head. "Even if no one ever sang it out loud?" "Especially then," Noctel replied. "Some lullabies are sung with cuddles. Some are whispered with glances. Others live only in dreams, but they're always there." Pip sat beneath the harp tree and closed his eyes. The notes began to swirl around him, forming a melody just for him. It was made of moonlight and quilted hugs, of tree branches swaying gently outside his window, and of Granny Nutwhistle's warm paws brushing his forehead when he couldn't sleep. He felt his heart grow soft and full. This is me." he said. Yes, Noctel said, their wings folding gently around him. And now that you've remembered your lullaby, the river can carry it with you wherever you go. Pip stayed in the glade for a long while, letting the music wrap around him like a favorite blanket. He watched as other dream creatures floated past on lily pad rafts, each guided by their own quiet songs. Some sang in whispers, others simply smiled as their melodies trailed behind them like glowing ribbons. Eventually, Noctel handed Pip a tiny jar. Inside it swirled a single golden note, spinning slowly like a firefly caught in a daydream. Your lullaby's heart, Noctel said. Keep it close. It will sing to you when you feel far from yourself. Pip tucked the jar gently into his pouch beside his sleepy wishes and soft feather. As he stepped back into the feather boat, Noctel raised the flute and played a goodbye note that floated high into the sky, where it joined the stars and made them twinkle just a little brighter. The feather boat began to drift again, slowly leaving Melody Bay behind. The music faded into a hush, but Pip could still feel it pulsing in his chest like a secret heartbeat. He curled back into his feathered nook, holding the jar close. The lullaby still hummed in his ears, soft and slow, guiding his breath like the river guided the boat. Above, the stars shimmered. Below, the water whispered. And all around him, the night waited with gentle patience for what wonders would come next. The sleepy river now flowed in wider loops, as if stretching after a long nap. Its surface sparkled with glints of quiet magic, and the sky above began to soften into a sleepy shade of rose gold. Pip lay still in the feather boat, lulled by the memory of his lullaby, cradled by the hum of the world. But as the boat turned gently around a bend, a new scent drifted through the air, something warm and buttery, with hints of cinnamon and soft sugar. Pip's nose twitched. The river opened into a dreamy clearing, where smoke curled lazily from chimneys made of gingerbread bricks and whipped cream roofs. Little windows glowed with amber light, and soft music played in the distance, like wind chimes made of spoons and cookie cutters. A sign, frosted with sugar dust, arched above a stone archway. Snuggleberry Village, where all are welcome and treats never end. The feather boat came to rest beside a dock made of waffle wood, and Pip stepped out onto a pathway paved with soft sponge cake. As his paws touched the ground, it gave a gentle squish, releasing puffs of powdered sugar into the air. Before he could take another step, a small crowd of smiling creatures gathered around him. They were chubby and cheerful, made of patchwork dough and jam-glazed eyes, wearing scarves knitted from licorice and aprons stitched from muffin wrappers. "Welcome! Welcome!" They all cheered softly, as if cheering too loudly might wake someone. One of them, round as a bun and wearing spectacles made of peppermint, stepped forward. "I'm Muffinmeyer," the jolly creature said, bowing slightly. "We've been expecting you, Pip of the Feather Boat." Pip blinked. "You knew I was coming?" "Oh, yes," said Muffinmeyer, adjusting his candy cane spectacles. "The sleepy river sends whispers ahead of its travelers. We've prepared a special seat at the table of treats. Come now, before your cocoa gets cold." Pip followed the giggling group through the village, passing houses made of toffee and fountains that poured warm honey. Fireflies zipped around wearing tiny oven mitts, sprinkling sugar snow wherever they flew. At the center of Snuggleberry Village stood a table longer than any Pip had ever seen. It stretched from one caramel lamp to another, and it was covered in every soft, sweet treat imaginable: fluffy puddings, dream pie slices, marshmallow curls, sleepy scones, and rows of steaming cocoa mugs topped with floating cloud cream. Pip was guided to a chair shaped like a cinnamon swirl and gently lifted onto it by two ginger cat creatures, purring as they adjusted a blueberry napkin around his neck. "We call this the Comfort Feast," Muffinmeyer explained. "Not to fill bellies, but to fill hearts. Every bite is made from a memory of kindness, joy, or laughter." Pip took a cautious nibble of a moon muffin. Instantly, a memory warmed his chest. Playing hide-and-seek with his squirrel cousins during a summer dusk, their laughter echoing through the trees. He tried a dream donut next, and suddenly he remembered the first time he climbed to the top branch of the tallest tree and saw the sleepy river glimmering in the distance. Each treat carried a tiny, glowing joy. Around the table, the villagers sipped and munched, laughing softly and sharing stories of dreams they had helped deliver. Some spoke of tucking in lonely thoughts, Others told of songs they'd hidden inside jelly beans for giggling children to find. When the meal ended, a bell made of shortbread chimed 3 times, and the villagers stood, swaying slightly with full hearts. "Now," said Muffin Mayor, "it's time for the sweet parade." The creatures formed a gentle procession through the village, carrying tiny lanterns made of soft candy glass. Pip was handed one too, its handle wrapped in velvet string. He followed as they moved down the licorice lane, each step slow and sleepy. At the end of the parade, they reached a small hill shaped like a scoop of vanilla moon ice. From its top, Pip could see the feather boat waiting below, glowing softly in the water. Muffin Meyer placed a small bundle into Pip's paws. "These are comfort crumbs," he said with a wink, "for nights when you need extra warmth in your dreams." Pip tucked the bundle into his pouch alongside his lullaby jar, his sleepy wishes, and the tiny feather. The villagers waved as he made his way back down the hill, the lanterns lighting his path with flickering sweetness. As he stepped into the feather boat once more, the cocoa-scented breeze swirled around him like a sleepy blanket, and the river gave a soft ripple of welcome. The boat pushed off gently, leaving the glowing village behind. As it floated into the deep night once more, Pip leaned against the curve of the feather and sighed contentedly. The stars above twinkled a little slower, and the sleepy river hummed its never-ending lullaby. Pip, his heart full of joy and sugar-soft dreams, let his eyes drift closed again as the current pulled him gently forward, toward whatever wonder waited next beneath the sleepy sky. The feather boat floated softly through the cool night air, carrying Pip deeper into the embrace of the sleepy river. The gentle current whispered lullabies, and the stars above twinkled like tiny lanterns guiding him onward. The air grew sweeter, tinged with the scent of fresh pine and a hint of something crisp and sparkling, like the very first snowflake of winter. As the river curved around a bend, Pip saw ahead a glistening forest, unlike any he had ever imagined. The trees stood tall and proud, their needles shimmering with frost that sparkled like diamonds in the moonlight. Soft patches of snow blanketed the ground, and delicate icicles hung from the branches, catching the pale light and scattering it in gentle rainbows. This was the Crystal Pine Grove, a magical place where winter's hush wrapped around everything like a soft silver quilt. As Pip's feather boat drifted near the shore, a graceful figure emerged from between the trees. She wore a cloak woven from snowflakes and frost, her hair shimmering like spun ice. Her eyes were gentle pools of pale blue, filled with the calm of the quietest winter nights. "Welcome, little traveler," she said softly, her voice like the tinkling of icicles in a gentle breeze. "I am Ira, the keeper of Crystal Pines." Pip stepped carefully onto the snowy shore, his paws sinking softly into the powdery white. The cold was crisp but not biting, more like the cool touch of a morning breath. Ira led him through the grove, where the trees whispered stories in the language of falling snow. Each pine seemed to hum a different note, and together they formed a quiet symphony that wrapped around Pip's heart. "Here," Ira explained, "the cold teaches us to slow down, to listen to the stillness. Winter is a time for dreams to rest and for hearts to grow warm from within." They reached a clearing where the snow lay thick and untouched. In the center stood a frozen pond, smooth as glass, reflecting the stars above like a mirror. "Would you like to make a wish on the ice?" Ira asked. Pip nodded, his breath forming tiny clouds in the frosty air. Ira handed him a small, crystal-clear pine cone, shimmering softly as if lit from within. "This pine cone holds a special kind of wish," she said, "one that grows stronger with every kind thought you hold in your heart." Pip closed his eyes and thought of all the gentle moments he'd experienced. The lullabies, the warm nests, the sweet treats, the songs of Melody Bay. He wished for the kindness in the world to bloom forever, like the pine trees standing tall and bright, even in the coldest night. Carefully, he placed the pine cone on the ice. It glowed softly, then melted into a star-shaped ripple that spread across the pond, sending sparkling waves shimmering under the moonlight. Ira smiled. "Your wish will dance with the snowflakes and carry warmth to sleepy hearts everywhere." Pip felt a gentle warmth bloom inside him, as if the winter itself had wrapped him in a soft embrace. As they walked back through the grove, Ira shared stories of the crystal pines, how they whispered secrets to the stars, how they cradled nests of snowflakes shaped like tiny wishes, and how their needles sang lullabies to the night wind. Back at the riverbank, Pip's featherboat waited, gleaming softly under the frosty sky. Before he climbed aboard, Ira handed him a small, sparkling needle from a pine branch, wrapped in silver thread. "This is a gift of the grove," she said. "Keep it close when the world feels cold. It will remind you of the warmth that lives in quiet hearts." Pip tucked the gift carefully into his pouch, alongside his other treasures. As the featherboat floated away, the crystal pine grove shimmered behind him like a dream woven from frost and kindness. The river carried him forward, its waters now gentle and deep, humming softly beneath the quiet sky. Pip settled into his nook once more, the cold night wrapped in the warmth of his heart and the glow of new wishes. And all around him, the sleepy river sang its endless lullaby, soft, slow, and full of dreams yet to come. The featherboat drifted softly along the sleepy river, now wrapped in a gentle mist that sparkled with the light of 1,000 distant stars. The night air was sweet and still, as if the whole world were holding its breath, waiting for a special moment. Pip nestled deeper into his feathered nook, feeling the warmth of all the treasures he had gathered: the pouch of sleepy wishes, the lullaby jar, the comfort crumbs, the glowing note, the feather from the pillow peaks, and the sparkling pine needle from the crystal pine grove. As the boat floated through the silver mist, a soft glow appeared ahead, growing brighter with every gentle ripple of the water. It was a place unlike any other, where the river widened into a vast pool of shimmering light, the Dreaming Heart. At the center of this glowing pool floated a magnificent tree, its branches stretching high into the sky, covered in leaves made of pure starlight. The tree pulsed softly with a light that seemed to breathe with the rhythm of the river itself. From the tree came a voice, warm, deep, and kind, like a hug wrapped in moonbeams. "Welcome, Pip, traveler of dreams," it said. "You have journeyed far along the sleepy river, gathering wishes, lullabies, and kindness. Now it is time to rest beneath the Dreaming Heart." The featherboat floated gently to the shore beneath the radiant tree. Pip stepped out and felt the soft glow of the starlit leaves brushing against his fur like a gentle breeze. He looked up, marveling at the shimmering branches and the quiet power they held. As he settled beneath the tree, the leaves above began to shimmer more brightly, sending down tiny stardust flakes that settled like soft snow around him. Pip felt a peaceful calm wash over him, as if all the dreams he had collected were weaving together into a warm blanket, wrapping him in safety and love. The tree's voice spoke again, softly now, like a lullaby. "Every dream you carry, every wish you have made, joins here, growing stronger and brighter. The sleepy river's magic flows through you, little one, and through the hearts of all who believe in gentle dreams." Pip closed his eyes and breathed deeply, feeling the gentle rhythm of the river and the quiet pulse of the Dreaming Heart. The stardust sparkled around him, and the world grew soft and warm. As he drifted into sleep, the tree's leaves sang a lullaby, soft notes that wrapped the night in a gentle hush, a song of rest and hope and endless wonder. And the sleepy river flowed on, carrying the featherboat and Pip's dreams toward the sweetest sleep the world had ever known. In the quiet of the night, under the shimmering branches of the Dreaming Heart, Pip dreamed peacefully, safe, loved, and wrapped forever in the softest of bedtime stories.